So, something different today. Welcome to the forest and a quick review of the foil drive Gen 2. So let's talk foil drive, and first of all a big shout out to Stefan K. He ordered the Gen 2 foil drive the day it appeared online, had it shipped to Germany and gave me the opportunity to test it. We're heading towards winter, it's minus 10 degrees right now. You see I'm wearing my thick winter mittens, but nonetheless, if you get the opportunity to test something like the Gen 2 foil drive, you're saying yes, no matter how cold it is. So let's do a quick rundown on the version Stefan ordered. He bought the biggest foil drive available, biggest battery, longest runtime, pretty much maxing everything out. So from the marketing pictures and some online videos, I knew that foil drive Gen 2 was more of a polished product instead of a kind of DIY project. But I was amazed by the build quality. Everything fits together really nice, and you can see they invested into molds and really put a lot of thought into the construction. So fitting the battery underneath or in between your board and foil is really convenient. I think it's the best solution. Instead of putting the battery on top of your board, it gives you more freedom, more control, and I think that's the way to go. I'm not saying that all the others with the battery on top are worse. There's some really nice products out there. But I think with Gen 2, foil drive is just a little bit ahead of everyone else on the market. So let's take a look at Stefan and his first try on Generation 2. He's roughly 75 kilograms. He's riding a North Sport with 43 liters in volume, and foil drive Gen 2 had enough speed and power to easily get him out of the water. Actually, everyone on the pier was surprised how well this works. The remote control fits nicely into your hands. There's two triggers, one for speed and the other one for getting into the settings. You can use the app for fine-tuning everything and adapting the foil drive Generation 2 exactly to your needs. So here's the moment of truth. That's me on the foil drive Gen 2. It's actually my first time using an electric assist system for my foil. I've tried an electric foil. It was big, it was heavy. I didn't like it that much. And this is really the first time me riding the foil drive Gen 2. I was surprised by how powerful foil drive Gen 2 actually is for such a small motor. It's easy to get up on foil. You're just getting on your knees. I could stand up more or less immediately, and there were only two things I was struggling with. First one being the position of the foil drive on the mast. It was really close to the board, and I'm used to just once I get on foil, I try to go high on the mast to have a really efficient glide and ride. And with the foil drive, I had to stay on the water surface or really close to the water surface to not catch air. That was something I had to get used to. And the second one was not releasing the trigger button too fast, because it's mass in motion, and if you just let go of that trigger button, the mass is still going forward and you probably want to crash. At least I did. And after a few tries, I got used to the mast being so low and to letting go or not letting go slowly, and it was easy. I could glide over the water for a longer period of time, and then for me it was something I had to get used to go with speed and then get into that pumping motion. That actually took a few tries, but that was, I think, mainly due to the additional weight of having a big board, the foil drive, and a slow and big foil, which I'm not used to anymore. So I think if I would have been on a more familiar setup, maybe a smaller foil, smaller board even, it would have been a lot easier. But it was nothing you're not gonna get used to within a couple of minutes. So that was really convenient, like really convenient. So where do I see foil drive? And I think that's the most interesting part. I don't think it's an electric foil, at least not for me, because if you want an electric foil, you should get an electric foil. It's an assist system that allows you to get on foil and then do whatever you want to. Go winging, pumping, downwinding, And it's just that first step, or maybe getting back if you covered some distance and want to go back and ride another wave. I think that's where the foil drive really shines, and that's what it should be used for. So imagine you're new to foiling and you want to get into downwinding or maybe pumping, and you don't have the chance to be towed by a jet ski or a boat, and it takes you ages to get on foil. And once you're on foil, you're not used to what you're doing. You have no clue how pumping works, how efficient pumping can be once you get your foot placement dialed in. That's where foil drive becomes so handy, because getting on foil is like one step, and the second step is being on foil. And you can only practice the second part when you mastered the first one, except for using foil drive. So you can get yourself on a downwind board, on a winging or pumping board, just by using the little trigger, and then just practice the second part and practice it to perfection. Look at your foot placement and don't be afraid of falling, because you're just crawling back on the board, pushing the trigger, and you're back up on foil. This is a major shortcut for learning to foil. And once you've mastered that, you can go back and say, I want to pedal up, and I want maybe a little assist or no assist. I want to use a wing or a wave to get up on foil. So I don't think it's cheating, unless you're just cruising up and down the beach. But I don't think it's cheating. It's a really nice addition for learning to foil. So I think Foil Drive Gen 2 will open up a whole new world of foiling for people getting into the sport and people advancing and maybe learning to downwind, not being afraid of getting stuck on the open ocean, because you always have that little extra power to get you back on the wave or to get you back on land. So that's a measure of security for a lot of people. The same with wave surfing. Like, I know how long it took me to get into the first wave, to pedal on a prone board and then get up. And I was just like, oh, I just want to ride it straight and I'm not going to risk anything, because if I fall, it's going to take another 15 minutes before I catch the next wave. And Foil Drive will give you the opportunity to just take wave after wave and just practice. So it's going to be a really steep learning curve, and that's going to help a lot of people. So do I need a foil drive? And I know it's really expensive, but I think we have to look at it from another perspective. If you're buying a foil drive and you, let's say, keep it for a year just to get into downwinding or whatever kind of foiling you're trying to learn, and then you sell it and you're losing like maybe €1,000, that's the invest of a board. Like, if you're getting a smaller board from the beginning because you're starting off with foil drive and you don't need that big volume, you're actually saving yourself a step from having a big board at the beginning and then going to a smaller board, which probably is €1,000 as well. So I think, yes, it's expensive, but it's not a waste of money. It's a good investment, and foil gear is expensive. And I think for what Foil Drive Gen 2 is offering you, it's actually a pretty good deal. So before trying the Foil Drive Gen 2, I thought, yeah, it's nice. It's a polished product and it's a little gimmicky. But after trying it, I actually see a lot of potential. Not only for a lot of people, beginners, but also for me as an advanced rider, giving me more opportunities. So I'm right now struggling to catch tanker waves on a small SUP. I have a big front wing and I need the big front, like 1150 Leviathan. I need the 1150 to get up on foil. I would wish I could do it on smaller ones, but not yet. And once I'm up, the wing is too big. I wish I could go for like a Razor or a Razor Pro, because the waves of the tankers are pretty fast, and with the Leviathan I just can't keep up with the speed. So I'm actually really thinking about getting myself a foil drive, and I'm now having the same questions like all of you out there. Should I go for the max, big battery, small battery? And I think that's a really personal question. If you want to ride longer periods of time or have the security on a long downwind run, you probably want to have the max battery. But if you're like me, if you're trying just to get up on foil and just get a little bit of assist, I think the smaller one will be even better for me. Just to give you a rough idea, me and Stefan, we were out on 2 turns each, maybe 10 to 15 minutes, which gives us a total of, let's say, an hour of run time. And we were more or less just doing starts and small runs and experimenting with getting up on foil and getting into the pumping and gliding. So it was a lot of energy and not as efficient as just riding. And after an hour of just fooling around, I think there was 60% of the max battery capacity still left. The foil drive Gen 2 is a major step ahead of the Gen 1. Gen 1 was, to me, more like a DIY project. Was not so convenient for me to have the battery on the board because I really like to play with my foot placement. But having the battery in between the board and the mast is a really nice solution, and I think other companies will probably follow or do similar things. So for the first time ever, maybe I might get myself a foil drive Gen 2. The future will tell. It's expensive, I know, but it's gonna open up a lot of possibilities. So thank you for joining me on this little trip up here into the forest. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you have questions, feel free to use the comments, and hopefully see you back on this channel soon. Take care.